Ready.
All right, so the time being now 9:34, I'm Claudio Gualtieri, Chair of the Workforce Council, and here to call the meeting to order on April 25th. Thank you everyone for attending. You should have received in advance our agenda. I'll just quickly run through the agenda for today, and then we'll begin with our items. And so we have welcome and introductions, which we have just done. Number 2 on our agenda item, we want to report out from our subcommittees. So we're expecting updates from the training fund, our new member orientation group, and the bylaws work. And thank you, Kathy Flaherty. I know you've done yeoman's work to get our bylaws in order. So eager to hear a report out on that. Next, we'll turn to a very brief update on the collective bargaining implementation with respect to the healthcare premium assistance. I'll turn to Heather for an update on that. And then brief updates on labor negotiations, member update. If there's any other business, we will invite the members of the public. If there's anyone of the public who wishes to speak, they can address the council at that time. And then we'll adjourn this meeting. We anticipate it being a relatively brief meeting, but certainly if there's discussion, we'll entertain any discussion on any of the topics that merit such. So with that, I'll turn it to Heather to call on our subcommittee reports.
Thank you, Claudio, and good morning, everyone. So before we dive into the subcommittee reports, there's one other order of business that we actually haven't been doing recently, but we're going to approve the minutes, Claudio, if you don't mind asking for a motion to do so.
Yes, good call. So everyone should have, in addition to the agenda, received the minutes to the last meeting. I'd ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Adam moved. Do I have a second?
This is Kathy, second.
Seconded by Kathy. The motion is properly moved and seconded. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, can we take a vote on that, Heather?
I think we could do a voice vote.
Okay. All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
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 Any noes? Abstention? I'll abstain as I was not able to be part of the last meeting. So
Thank you, Claudio.
Thank you. With that, the minutes are approved. And go ahead, Heather. I'll recognize you again for subcommittee updates.
Thank you. So before I start with the subcommittee reports, the first report is going to be from Bill Halsey on the training fund. So he is a new but temporary member on the Workforce Council. He's representing DSS. And so he, as I said, full member of the council, and also in his role in the council is serving as co-chair of the training fund committee along with Deidre Murch from the union. So Bill, I will pass it over to you for a brief update on the training fund committee.
Good morning, everyone. So we are working on some issues not issues, but we're working on an amendment relating to the training fund that we want to keep moving into next year. So we're working on an amendment for that contract. And then I also just want to say publicly that I'll be reaching out to Deirdre soon to get a meeting on the books before the end of the fiscal year. So probably sometime in June, we'll be convening a meeting of the training fund. I'll reach out to Deirdre in the next couple of days to schedule that.
Thank you, Bill. All right, next on the agenda is the new member orientation, and I believe Eileen is not here yet. I believe she's going to be joining late on. I don't see her. So what I was going to do is just explain that we're continuing to meet on the new member orientation, and that's really documents that we've been compiling in this committee, the subcommittee, that will be, we're continuing to tweak because there's a lot of information related to this council. And so we want to make sure it's thorough, updated, and accurate. And I want to give a shout out to, as I said, Eileen, who has been the point person for this subcommittee. And we've also had Denise Palladino and Fran Sinish.
Melissa Morton.
And Melissa Morton working really hard on all this.
Sorry.
No, it's really important because Melissa's been providing really important feedback as well. Um, so I'm very grateful to everyone who's a member of that subcommittee, and we do have another meeting scheduled for early May, and hope to have documents to share with this group for their review by the next quarterly meeting, which will be in July. So with that, the next subcommittee report is Kathy Flaherty around the bylaws. Kathy.
Thank you, Heather. Our bylaw committee has been meeting and working on finally creating bylaws for this group. We've been operating a long time, functioning well without them, but we thought it was good to finally get them. And they are this close to being done, but I think we'll have a final version ready for the next meeting. But I just really want to thank Heather and Peg and Eileen for being part of these meetings because we really tried to go based on the statute that created the Workforce Council, but putting stuff in language that everybody can understand.
Thank you, Kathy. So Claudia, if it's all right with you, I'm going to move on to item number 4. And so that is the update on the collective bargaining agreement implementation. As we know, this the CBA was approved in May last year, and so there's new benefits that have been rolling out. And the one I'm going to speak about is the healthcare premium assistance. This is providing premium support to PCAs who are not covered by Husky or Covered Connecticut or other insurance, such as spousal insurance. And so there's been a there's been a lot of work going on in terms of getting applications, helping PCAs with that. And there was a first payment that went out to PCAs who had applied on March 13th. And in accordance with the stipulated agreement with the union, there was a second round of applications that was accepted through April 7th. And the council, both the council and the union conducted outreach as was provided for in the stipulated agreement. And also we're pleased to report that Access Health Connecticut had set up a dedicated phone line for PCAs to help them with the application process. The PCAs also, Access Health also did another tremendous thing, and they set up a special enrollment period just for PCAs from March 15th through June 15th. So that is still ongoing, and the second round of payments to the PCAs are going to be dispersed on May 1st, which is next week. And as I said, the special enrollment period will be open until May 15th. So with that, I will pass it over to you, Claudio.
Thank you, Heather. So then with that, it's membership update. Is there a membership update that you have that you want to share,
Yes.
Heather?
Oh, actually, sure. And that's actually the membership update is that there has been somebody who's been identified, and we have sent the nomination to Senator Duff because it would be one of his appointee. And so Senator Duff, his office has this for their consideration. And Claudia, I'll pass it back to you for item number 5, just if you want to just share that we have that negotiations are ongoing.
So item number 4, update on labor negotiations. Did you want
Yes.
me to do?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, so just really quick there that the council continues to engage on a successor contract. As we all know, the current agreement was for 2 years, but one of those years was for an expired year. So it was essentially backdating in one new year that ends June 30th of this year, 2023. In the past, there have been multiple options. Obviously, it is always preferable to wrap things up during the session so that things can be reflected in the budget. We can actually fund the collective bargaining agreement and be able to implement it in quick and seamless transition from one agreement to the next. In certain cases, historically, that hasn't always happened. But rest assured, I want to make sure everyone here is assured that even if there is a lapse in contract, there are mechanisms by which we can ensure that there's a stabilization of the workforce and that the benefits continue through a interim sort of temporary extension of the current agreement. And that has happened even as recently as our last negotiation. So for consumers, consumer employers, and family members, I just want to give assurances that the program has mechanisms to ensure that we will have a stable workforce, and things can move forward. We even made changes last year to make clear that the mandatory orientation and the funds to support that continue to happen every July 1. So those funds will renew automatically per our current successor agreement. So we are scheduled to continue negotiations with the 1199 SEIU later this week. Thankful to our new members of the Labor Relations Committee, especially Bill, who's just stepped in for Dawn and done great work there. And then our continuing membership, those that worked with us last time and are here again. So continuing the work, and we will update the council as new developments materialize. So with that, Heather, does that bring us to any other business that you wish to discuss? Number 6?
Yes, I do have one additional item of business before we turn it over to other council members. Just wanted to share with the council that something that we've been working on is increased outreach to consumer employers, and so we are working on contracting with a platform to do so. So hoping to have approval on that before the end of the state fiscal year, so that we can, as I said, enhance communications, hopefully be able to distribute surveys to get more active consumer employer input into all the business council, and hopefully at some point we will be having forums, whether virtual, hybrid, or in person, and be able to send out invitations and receive RSVPs that way as well. So it's a very exciting time, because I'm pleased that we'll be able to have just as I said, more input from consumer employers, and hopefully be more available to them as a source of information beyond our current communications. So with that, are there council members who have any other business?
That brings us, I think, Heather, seeing none, we'll move to the next item, which is public comment. Is there any member of the public that wishes to give input, provide feedback, or speak at this time?
I think that's why Mary Ann Langton came here today.
I
So
think
she
she's
may
on
have
mute.
to figure out how to unmute. And
There you go. Excellent. Mary Ann, we are having a little bit of connectivity issues, and you're coming across, so it's all muffled, the language. So maybe if you, I don't know if the speaker is close enough to your mouth. Not much better, unfortunately.
this is Kathy. What she did text me earlier saying that trainings need to be regional. And I think maybe that's to get more access for PCAs to be able to do the training. Or I don't know if you mean training for consumer employers, Mary Ann.
Unfortunately, we can't hear you. Do you want to, it comes across all garbled. Do you want to put it in the
Chat, maybe?
chat, or, yeah, put it in the chat and we can read it. I can say while you're doing that, Claudia, with your permission, can I speak about orientation and voluntary trainings, just where they're held, in case that would be helpful? Clarification?
Yes, that would be. Thanks, Melissa.
Okay, sure. So just to let everyone know, and particularly Heidi and Mary Ann, who don't get to attend our meetings as often, All personal care attendants, when they first start hiring, are required within 90 days to attend a new hire orientation that is provided by the 1199 Training and Upgrading Fund. That orientation is 30 minutes of protected union time where the union gives a presentation, and then it's 2.5 hours of an actual orientation. That is done to educate about what it means to be a PCA and general rules of the programs and a very broad overview of PCA work. Those are offered when we did them in person, which ceased once COVID started. Those were offered regionally. They were offered all across the state. They had approximately 10 to 12 in-person sessions all across the state for the convenience of the PCAs. In addition, once COVID started, we moved to doing all of the orientations on Zoom. So Zoom allows PCAs to attend any session from wherever they are. So we're continuing the number of sessions to make sure that sessions are accessible to the greatest number of PCAs so they can meet that requirement to continue working. Our voluntary trainings, which PCAs don't have to take but might choose to get CPR certified or better their skills as a PCA, learn about improving communication skills, and other fund committee members can remind me what the third topic is. I'm forgetting right now what the third voluntary training topic is. But those, I believe some of those are offered online as well, and that we haven't moved to full in-person trainings yet.
Yeah, there's also care for the caregiver and
That was the
Alzheimer's.
one. Thank you. So that's the training, but Marianne, it looks like your question is PCA workforce shortage. How can we work together to improve the workforce shortage because people are struggling? Is that accurate? Okay.
So I think that there have been significant investments, Marianne. As with anything, workforce development tends to be a process. So investments have been made through the ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act. The governor and the legislature have appropriated money through the Office of Workforce Strategy, through a number of different creative programs. Mostly they center around, one, making sure that people have access to, if they need any tuition support, to be able to meet some basic qualifications and understanding of the healthcare field, that they can get access to tuition assistance. Two, we need to create partnerships between the training programs that exist and employment opportunities. And we're looking to make those bridges through employer, being the conduit between employers and the potential workforce as it rises. And number three, I think just as important is understanding that the profession has opportunity to continue to grow. So we're looking for opportunities where people can get into the healthcare workforce, continue to grow and mature and fill other roles, not leave the workforce. So it's a two-pronged strategy in that sense. We need to, one, get more people interested in the healthcare workforce, make them be able to afford to get through any credentialing and training that they need. And then two, not have a leaky bucket where all this great workforce that's coming in is simply replacing people who are leaving the workforce. So it's sort of a retention and recruitment approach. Unfortunately, it takes a while to build up this pipeline, and that's where we're seeing now. The investments have been made. There's a good strategy around building the workforce, but it's often a few years when we see the efforts materialize into new workforce development opportunities. I think the other thing we've tried to do is to be as flexible as possible so that right now, the program that's Community First Choice only has an option to self-direct, and finding workers can be very hard, especially for consumers. So to try to take some of that burden off, the governor has recommended and the legislature has supported the idea of expanding choice in the Community First Choice model so that someone could also avail themselves of a agency that may have workforce that they could tap into. So we're trying to be as flexible as possible in the short term, recognizing that there are gaps that we need to fill, and then we have a strategic effort longer term to make sure that the workforce is robust. I also think that the work that we've done in the last collective bargaining agreement really helps. Thinking for the first time, Connecticut's on the leading edge of providing PCAs with some form of premium assistance for healthcare, some basic efforts on paid time off, a wage that has continued to grow up and is often very competitive, if not higher than our peer states for doing the similar type of work. So all of this comes together, and we share your concern, because if the workforce isn't in place and the workforce isn't a quality workforce, the experience for the consumer is going to suffer. So we're aligned there, and I look forward to continued partnership with you, Marianne, as we come up with new creative ideas. You know, if there's other ideas and strategies, happy to take those into the work that we're all reflecting on here. I don't know if others want to add anything.
I'll just add very briefly, Marianne, as you know, I'm also part of the Long-Term Services and Supports Rebalancing Committee and the CFC Council. So I've been hearing the good work that your group has been doing with the Facebook page, trying to bring in new PCAs. And I've heard what you and Kathy Ludlam and others have shared across meetings, both of the CFC Council and at Long-Term Services and Supports, and now here. So I just wanted to let you know that you've been very effective in getting your message and concerns across, and that certainly those of us at OPM on this call hear the concern and keep that in the forefront of our mind to do what we can through the collective bargaining process and also through the long-term strategies that Claudio just shared. So I just want to let you know that we are aware and we have ears across all the committees where you've been sharing this message.
All right. I think that concludes. Thank you, Marianne. Really appreciate you coming. You're always welcome. And I think that you're a good connection to some of the other work with Money Follows the Person, the Long-Term Care Rebalancing Steering Committee, and the consumer and the advocate community. So please don't be a stranger. Come back often. Maybe we'll have you do a presentation to share on some other things in a future meeting. So just wanted to appreciate you being with us. All right, that concludes our formal agenda for today. So I will then just request if there's a motion to adjourn. Fran, are you ready? Oh, go ahead. Adam moved, Fran seconded. Thanks, Fran. I think all those, I think we can simply, all those in favor of adjournment, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Nice quick meeting. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a good week.
Take
Thank
care,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.